Hey everybody, it's Jim with Triple J Bricks. Welcome back to another video. Today I want to explore how to integrate parts that I don't use a lot, Technic, into my future castle builds. Let's get started. If you are like me and have maybe gathered a bunch of bulk Lego in the past, you're going to have a lot of Technic parts. Look at all of these black Technic pins. These are all pins and axles, and I have another bin of parts like this, and I have a giant bag here of, all of these huge Technic bricks, and I just have a lot of it, and it's stuff that I don't really use a lot in builds because Technic, from kind of my perspective, like Technic sets aren't as like aesthetically pleasing, right? They're not as detail oriented, but I have a lot of them and I don't want them to go to waste. So I decided to take like 15 minutes and just sort of put together just a few different builds of just small mini builds as like tests or examples of how we might be able to use this kind of stuff in our Castle MOCs. Before we take a look at these, I just want to reiterate that these are all very tiny, non-specific examples. I don't have actual things built for them. These are just examples to help spark some creativity for your own builds, maybe give you guys some ideas on how you might be able to integrate them. And I'm just, like I said, I spent like 10-15 minutes just putting these together, and so I'm just going to kind of show you what I did and maybe some practical applications for how you might use them. But again, it's all open to interpretation, and I just want your imaginations to go wild for what you could possibly do with it. So let's take a look. Okay, so this first one that we have here is, I'm using this plate that's on the back of it as to sort of signify like a wall that this could be attached onto. But basically, this is just some sort of like a spire type of a thing. You could have it down, you could have it facing up. You could attach this to the side, of like a tower. You could put multiple along the side and use it as like a fence or, kind of whatever you want. But if we take this apart, all it is this is just a black shield tile on top of a Technic like axle hole, sort of, I don't know, these are used for vehicles and other things. I don't know the actual name of most of these parts, but I was just going through my Technic bin and, just pulling some pieces. So there's only 2 Technic elements in here, but what I love about it is that it doesn't look like Technic, and it does help that it's the black color. I think it helps not make it feel, Technic-y, I guess, as much. But yeah, basically it's just this axle with this Technic pin with the axle hole in it. And then I just put in one of these bolt elements to kind of give it that like spire look. And so that's all this is, like super simple. It's just a few parts. And again, you could use this in a multitude of ways to just add some texture or whatever to like a dark tower or some sort of evil lair or whatever you want. So that's this first one. In this similar vein, this type of a connection, so same connection with the bolt and that Technic pin, but this time it's this, like, again, I don't really know the name of this piece, but it's this, like, I don't know, modified tile with like a Technic hole in it. But yeah, those are just connected on there. Again, right? It's just then the studs, and then you could attach these to the wall. So this is more like another variation of this kind of thing that you could have them at different heights too, because you can push the pins down further, right? You could have them down like that. If you wanted to make it more, I don't know, this style. Like, again, this is just meant to spark some ideas. And I think this is kind of like a cool look. Again, it's very foreboding looking, very Gothic, and doesn't really look like Technic, but it uses 2 Technic elements that are probably just sitting in your inventory anyway. This next one is a bunch of long Technic axle rods that are just, I put a couple of these gray pins in to pin these inside of a Technic brick. And this could be used as like a portcullis or a jail cell bars or something like that. And you could cover up these little connector pieces, you could put a plate over this or hide it with a tile or shield tiles or something, right? There's a lot of opportunities to be able to hide some of the things that you maybe don't want to see, but then use the functionality of these Technic elements to your benefit. You could have another bar at the bottom. I was also thinking that you could do, if you had sort of like a slope of some kind, the bars could be at different heights, right? You could raise up a couple or do something like this to have like this sort of ornate look to them. And again, you don't have to use the black bars. That is the one thing you are sort of limited with stuff like this, is there's just not a lot of colors for these. I believe these come in red, not red in this length, but they do come in gray as well. And we'll take a look at some gray pieces that we have as well. So you are limited in color, but I think there's a lot of things that you could use to do kind of cool stuff like this. Here's another little quick couple of those same Technic pins. I find these have been really useful because these allow you to slot in, more system type of elements into that axle hole. So you have a pin on one side and the axle hole on the other side. But this is sort of creates like a torch. So you could have like a row of torches, right? So you could put this down on a plate. Again, you could cover up some of these things, and then I just have this little tiny piece in here. But I basically just used, one of these elements here and with another element inside of it to make the torch. And then you can just attach it to these Technic pins. Again, you could push them down. You could have them up. However you want to do it, but you could have a row of these lining a pathway or lining a tower wall or something. And again, because you're attaching a lot of this to these Technic bricks, you have studs on the side that you can use, and then you have the anti-studs on the back, so you can attach this to a plate or another brick or whatever. So there's a lot of versatility with some of this stuff. If you start to sort of think outside the box maybe of how this might get used and how you can connect it sort of to more system parts. But yeah, so this is another little piece here. And then we have also some of these gray elements. So again, I'm using gray shield tiles, the same type of Technic pins, but in gray this time. And what I've done is I've just put a few hammers in them. So again, you could extend this out. I have these on the back of this like curved plate. This could be, just some sort of a decorative piece inside of a great hall. Or again, you could do this on the side of a tower just to have a little accent piece, or just use it as some texturing and whatnot. And yeah, I think there's just a lot of possibilities. Again, these are just a few things. I literally spent, like I said, 10 or 15 minutes just kind of tinkering around with some parts, and I just kind of wanted to show you just some of the basic few things that I came up with that, can spark some more ideas. And lastly, I put this together, again, to add more texture. This is just a Technic brick with a bunch of gray pins, all slotted in. And what I was doing is, and they kind of tend to move a little bit, but what you can do is you can kind of turn the Technic pins so that you don't have, you don't see the slits in them. And these just, again, add texture, kind of look like a bar, and then I just added some sort of, these gray slopes at the top. But I was thinking you could literally have this be like the top of a gate, or, the top bar of like a large door, or you could have them on the side of a door. You could tile this off or add more texture, more details into this or whatever. And you don't even need the plate on the back. I just put the plate on the back to attach these bricks to, but you could have it see-through. You could continue this along. Again, this could be like some sort of a fence element, but yeah, just a cool way to use, all of those pins and all of those elements that you end up getting. And of course, we're using a lot of other system parts as well, but use these when you can, because especially if you're not going to use them in your builds, use them where you can to add texture and some cool creative elements, and then you're not wasting, you can spend, your other detail work with your regular bricks and save some of your regular bricks that you might have used otherwise. Yeah, so I don't know. This is just a few little examples of what you can do with this kind of stuff. I will say too, this didn't take me super long to put a lot of these little mini builds together because I have my stuff organized and separated. It allowed me to just like open up the cases I knew that I had parts in, look at everything as it's separated out, be able to pull things, pull out these bins, do all that kind of stuff. I highly recommend these storage cases. I'll link up here the link to these storage cases that I used in another video. But you know, however you have your stuff sorted, it's really, really helpful when you're trying to put like mini builds together or MOCs that you do have your stuff separated. And I was realizing that today when I was putting these mini builds together, that it was so helpful because it allowed me to not spend time sifting and allowed me to get to building much, much faster, which is a plus in my book. All right, everybody, that's going to do it for this video. I hope that you gained some ideas from this. I hope this helped in some way, allows you to, you know, maybe look at some of these elements in a different way and allow you to use them in your builds. Again, I'm looking at this from like the Castle MOC perspective, but you can use a lot of these probably for fences in your Lego city, or, you know, elements on buildings in your Lego city, or, you know, sewer grates, or I don't know, I'm just running off ideas at the top of my head, but I am certain there are other ways to use these outside of just Castle MOCs. But that's kind of that's what I'm intending to build and work on, so that's kind of how I want to use them. So I'm looking forward to maybe looking at other parts and finding other ways to use things that I might not use and save, you know, save bricks that I, you know, will need elsewhere and allow me to make details out of that stuff that I'm not going to use anyway. And that feels pretty good. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. Remember to hit that subscribe button if you have not, and leave a comment down below if there are ways that you use parts. Please share them with me. I would love to hear it, because if we can give more ideas to each other, then we can help each other build more cool stuff. And that's a win for everybody. So everybody, thank you again. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. But until then, remember, keep on building. Jim out.